I imagine this alternate universe version of myself who is having a very different quarantine than I'm having as a morbidly obese person. Currently a morbidly obese person. Hey, I'm trying a new setup here. I'm kind of far away from my camera. I don't have an external mic yet, so I'm just going to try to be a little loud, and hopefully this will be loud enough and the camera will pick it up. I do need to get a mic sometime sort of soon. Now that I've had this quarantine, isolation kind of thing going on for, geez, what has it been? It's been over a month. It's been more than 40 days, I think. But yeah, since that's been going on for so long and people are starting to talk about opening up the country or parts of the country, hopefully slowly, but people are talking about that. And I've been thinking about how obesity, or more accurately, morbid obesity, has affected how I've dealt with quarantine, or my realities of isolating. There are like 5 areas of my life where yeah, obesity, or like I said, in my case, morbid obesity, often added stress to quarantine. And I think it's important for me to acknowledge the realities of these things. I don't mean this video to be a downer. I think that loving your body at any size is absolutely the right thing to do. Like, love yourself, love your body, no matter what size you are. I'm completely on board with that, completely on board. But I don't think that that means disregarding the realities that obesity and morbid obesity can, maybe not for all, but can for some, make life harder sometimes. So this is just kind of my reality check when it comes to obesity, morbid obesity, and quarantine, life in quarantine. And I'm only speaking for myself. That's always true whenever I'm talking about any of these things. I might sound like I'm generalizing, but I'm saying that these are my truths. They might be true for other people as well who are dealing with similar issues. So let's get down to the list. Number 1, distilled water. So I use a CPAP, which is, I forget what CPAP stands for right now. Constant pressurized air, I'm blanking on what CPAP stands for, but I use a CPAP at night to keep my airways open so that I don't stop breathing throughout the night. I've had sleep studies done, and they showed that I really needed the CPAP. It was scary how many times I was not breathing in a minute, and gasping for air. I've pretty much always snored to some level in my life, but it wasn't until I had gained a significant amount of weight that I actually started having sleep apnea symptoms. I ran off the road on a freeway. Thank God I was okay. I didn't run into anyone. I hurt myself jarring to a stop on the side of the freeway, but I didn't hurt anyone else. I didn't hurt my car or anything. But I had some scary times when I gained a considerable amount of weight in a short amount of time. I have talked to my doctor about this, and he has told me that if I were to reduce my weight, if I were to considerably reduce how much I weigh, that he is very, very confident that I would no longer need a CPAP and that I would not have sleep apnea anymore. I need distilled water. I can't just use, for the machine, I can't just use tap water. I can't use any bottled water. It has to be distilled water. It has to be distilled water to keep the machine running well, for it not to be breaking down, also for other health reasons, to keep me safe while I'm using it without it degrading. So, but distilled water, for some reason, there must be a lot of people who need it for medical devices and things like that, because even on a good day, it's hard to come by. And I've always sort of been in the habit of, when I find 1 gallon of distilled water someplace, to buy more than one. But I was running out during the quarantine, and I started getting really anxious. I started thinking I might not be able to sleep, like literally, because without the CPAP, this sounds dramatic, but it is true that if I were to fall asleep without wearing it, I could have an episode and die. And so it was really frightening. And knowing that for me, that weight played such a big part of even needing the CPAP, and that this excess weight was causing me not only to need to use this machine, thankfully that I have to help keep me alive, right? But not only did I need to use that, but the weight was causing me to need to use it, and was causing me added stress during quarantine, where I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel secure, and I was just stressed. Thankfully, I was able to find some and get some delivered. I had a friend who brought over 1 gallon, and my brother brought over 2 gallons. So I currently have, I think, 5 gallons of distilled water that will last me a few months. But there was at least a week or 2 or more where I didn't know if I was going to run out. I didn't know what I was going to do, and it was scary. 2, hold on, let me read my list. Oh, this is, I deal with chronic pain. Some of it is related to obesity. Some, I'm not sure if it's related to some other things I deal with. But I would say that my weight does not help. My weight for sure does not help my chronic pain issues. And there were like these orders that were put in place saying that it's fine if you want to go out of the house for physical activity, but you can't stop anywhere. I think you can run the risk of being fined if you were to just stop someplace. And so it's fine if you want to go for a bike ride, if you want to go for a long walk, if you want to go for a jog, a run, or something like that. But it's not okay to drive someplace and just sit down at the park where no one's around just so you can get some fresh air, because it's not okay for you to be seated someplace for a while. And that was sort of frustrating for me, because where my health has been, unfortunately, as much as I love going for walks and bike rides and all of that, I haven't been able to for years now. And for chronic pain issues and some related to weight, or weight, like I said, doesn't help it. So I had gotten into the habit of driving to a nearby park and sitting in my car, sometimes getting out of the car, but sitting in my car and watching the sunrise, sometimes the sunset. It's right on the water, and it really helped me relax. And it made me feel like I was getting out of the house, I was doing something. But it wasn't physical, because I just can't do as much physical right now as I would like to be able to do. And I will be able to do sometime down the road, but I just can't right now. So I found it frustrating of like not being able to get out and about and enjoy the outside the way I could if I wasn't dealing with the chronic pain issues I'm dealing with and the weight, you know. I actually had heard of people who were going to watch sunsets and just parking to watch a sunset, not, you know, social distancing, not bothering anyone. And people were getting fined, where police were approaching them. That really concerned me because I don't want to have to roll my window down and talk to a policeman or a police officer who's inches away from me. That's sort of scary right now. But I also don't want to get fined for going out and trying to find something relaxing because I can't go for a run. I can't go for a long walk. I can't do these physical things that we're allowed to do. So this is like my concession, is to be able to get out there and feel like I'm one with nature and I can get out of the house, but I could potentially be fined for doing that. So a few weeks ago, I decided to go watch the sunrise, and I did go to the park, and I sat there in my car. I kept all the windows closed, everything. There were many other people who were doing the same thing. Everyone social distancing. People, I think there were some people who were fishing, but everyone was keeping apart from each other during this and being very, very safe. Well, there was a police officer who was parked there, and I could see them in my eye line the whole time. And then a couple times the police officer drove around the parking lot making rounds, basically. And I was so anxious that I was going to get fined or in trouble or have to deal one-on-one with a police officer because I was going to watch the sunrise, that I actually stopped doing it. That's the last time I went to go watch the sunrise, or that I went to go sit at a park in my car. And anyway, so that's something that's frustrating, but a lot of it, I'm not sure how much of it with the pain, but a lot of that has to comes down to my weight. A lot of that comes down to, you know, I'm not as physically fit. I'm not close to pain-free. And so it limits how I can enjoy the amount of time that I can have outside. Yes, I can sit on my porch. Yes, yes, there are ways I can enjoy the outdoors, but it really, when I have the urge to go for a walk and I just physically can't because of my size right now and because of the pain that I deal with, it's frustrating. And when the news comes on again and again saying, oh, it's fine if you can leave your house to go for a run. Hey, all runners, be really happy you can go for a run. And if I could run right now, I would cry out of happiness, because it's been years, partly from some health issues and partly from some significant weight gain that I've had, where I can't do things recreationally that I would like to do. And it's really, really coming to light with this whole quarantine, whatever you want to call it. It's really highlighted how limited my life has become in some ways, physically in some ways. So there's that. Number 3. Of the health issues that I deal with being morbidly obese is, even when I've just been obese, when I was a little bit smaller, has been high blood pressure. I take low dose blood pressure medicine, but it is necessary for me to take daily. I take it every night, and it is necessary. And when I don't have it, I feel anxious. Because I'm not fit, I'm not lean, my blood pressure without medication is elevated. Because I'm not as healthy as I could be or I want to be, I'm reliant on this blood pressure medicine. And I found a pharmacy that would deliver my prescription. They said they were going to deliver it. Weeks went by and I didn't have it. And I was down to a handful of pills. Again, it's just this anxiety that comes with being so reliant on medication. I know there are people who are reliant on medications for a myriad of things, not related to weight, not related at all to being obese at all. I understand that. But I'm just saying, for me, obesity is a huge reason that probably the primary reason that that I'm reliant on this medication to regulate my blood pressure. And so when it didn't come, I was in a panic. I was in absolute panic. I called the pharmacy. I dealt with them again. They did send it out again. Thankfully, the second time they sent the package, it did arrive, and it did arrive just in time. So it ended up being okay. But it really came down to the wire, and it did really emphasize to me how reliant I am on these things, how unhealthy I am, and how my unhealthy existence right now, and obesity being a huge player in that, has led to anxieties that I wouldn't necessarily have to face if I were healthier. Sometimes I would imagine myself being very fit and very healthy, and wonder what my quarantine would have been like if that's the life I had been leading. And just imagine like all of the anxiety and stress that I could have taken off my plate. I didn't mean that to be some sort of pun about plate and food and weight, but yeah, there's a lot of anxiety that I could have avoided had I been healthier. The fourth thing I want to talk about is food, scarcity mindset, and binge eating disorder. I've dealt with binge eating disorder for most of my life. When I first started this quarantine, I was unemployed. I was suddenly unemployed. And I was very concerned of how I was going to get enough food. I barely had any food. Sorry, I don't know what that was. But I barely had any food in the cupboards, in my, like I was very, very low on food at the moment. I needed to go grocery shopping, but suddenly I had no money, and a lot of uncertainties, and it was very scary. And through the course of the quarantine, I have had times when people have helped me out. They've bought me groceries. They've given me money for groceries. One of my brothers has brought over groceries for me time to time. I'm fine. I'm completely fine. I'm stocked. It's all good. It's all good. I have enough food and I'm fine. There were times during the quarantine when either I had, at the beginning, where I had basically no food. I had hardly any food, and so I had that desperate freak out that I needed to acquire food, and it was really scary. And even though I was fine, but it put me into that scarcity mindset that precedes binge eating very often. At least for me, it does. And then when I would get food, I found that sometimes I was binge eating a lot of the food I was getting. And so I was blowing through the food really quickly, some of the food really, really quickly. It's been a challenge to deal with the uncertainties of things going on in life, and food being a part of those uncertainties, balancing that with dealing with trying to overcome binge eating disorder. There were times when I had cravings for food that I didn't have in the house, and I had no chance of getting in the house for a week or two. I was really shocked actually at how when I denied my cravings for a day or two or three, which I would not have done otherwise. Before this, I would have gone to the store, I would have ordered takeout, I would have, whatever it was, but I was really surprised at how denying these binge cravings, after a few days, for the most part, they subsided. I mean, I had waves of cravings and they would ebb and flow, but by the time I got through 1 week, It like forced me to sit with those feelings. It forced me to sit with this craving that I could not fulfill the craving. And I was very surprised that often, once about 3-4 days went by, and definitely at about a week, I didn't really have the craving so much anymore. My body finally just sort of gave in. That's been very much up and down. I don't even really know what to say about it. It's just that quarantine has really highlighted some things that, some ways that maybe I could help, like in a healthy way that I could deal with binge eating. And it's also really highlighted how much farther I have to go to overcome it. Number 5 and final. When I found out that pretty early on that I'm at higher risk for a serious case of COVID-19, I was scared. And I think a lot of people who are obese or morbidly obese felt that way. I'm at higher risk because of things that I've done to myself. I'm at higher risk because my weight has put me, because my weight has made me a borderline diabetic. Not diabetic, but right on the edge. And because I am reliant on blood pressure medicine because my blood pressure isn't always under control. And just the fact of being obese or morbidly obese, just that alone puts people at a higher risk. I was really hit with the realization that if it came down to it, let's say there weren't enough ventilators and I were to get sick and I got very sick and was in the hospital, if it came down to it, if there weren't enough ventilators, I would likely not get a ventilator, because like what had happened in Italy, they were giving ventilators to people who were most likely to have the best odds of recovering. And I realized that my obesity, my morbid obesity, I like to say morbid obesity because that keeps me honest, if you wonder why I keep correcting myself. This morbid obesity hasn't just made it so that I don't like the way I look in pictures at times, or that clothes don't fit me the way I'd like them to fit, or that I can't physically do activities that I'd like to do, or fill in the blank, right? It's not just those things. It's actually, I guess I knew that being obese, being morbidly obese was detrimental to my health. I knew that. Of course I knew that. But I wasn't faced with it the same way in daily life until I came to the realization that just being morbidly obese and some of the health conditions that go along with that would potentially cause my death if I were to get COVID-19. I guess I realized how much I'd put my life in jeopardy, and it changed the way that I dealt with quarantine because I started to deal with more anxiety. I think there's a running theme through a lot of these is that morbid obesity has caused me a lot of anxiety during this quarantine, a lot. Some people were saying, oh, just get takeout food, it's fine. I was nervous to do that, so I wouldn't get takeout food. I basically had a panic attack every time I had to deal with a package that was left, or my blood pressure medication got low and I might have to go to the pharmacy to pick it up. I was panicked. And I just realized how much anxiety and fear that for me, morbid obesity causes daily that I'm probably not even aware of.